Hi, I'm John and you're watching Retired Grandpa. I'd like to welcome everybody to the channel and I hope that you stay and watch till the end. Today's going to be the moment of truth. Since I released the introduction and overview video of my MCR, I have not disassembled this system yet. Today's going to be the moment of the truth and I'm going to disassemble it, take a look underneath the hood and show y'all what I find. Also going to take a look at the 4 spare barrels that I have. So stay tuned. Let's get going. First, let's take a look at these spare barrels. The first thing that I noticed is there's some rust on the flash hider and on some of the gas blocks. I believe 2 of them. And the reason that there's rust on here is after they're hot, I'll put them in the spare barrel bag. Yeah, I do leave the bag open to let them cool down, but then afterwards I've kept them in the bag to see how long it would take to rust. And it'd take about a day or so. I do not recommend keeping the barrels in the spare barrel bag just for that reason. Now, if you're out in the field and you're having to shoot and you're having to change out your barrel, it's going to be okay. Just whenever you can get to a tactical pause, go ahead and pull the barrels out, put a little light cut oil on it, and Charlie Mike, continue mission. With that, you can shake the barrels and hear the piston still moving freely inside the gas system. And that's a good sign. There's not a lot of carbon built up in it. We can look at the barrel extension. There's no signs of wear on the feed ramps, and you'll notice there's a feed ramp up here for the belt feed or the belt fed, and the ramps for the magazine fed. Each of the 4 barrels good to go. And also we can take a look at the muzzle end. Everything seems to be fine. There's no sign of damage. I don't see any type of erosion. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these barrels. They just need to be cleaned up a little bit. I do have flash hiders on 4 of my barrels. I do like that because of more traditional reasons, but this muzzle brake, guys, gals, if you're watching, this muzzle brake works. It absolutely works. This will keep the gun straight. It'll keep it on target, and you can tighten up that cone of fire on whatever it is you're putting rounds onto. But with that, it's like any other muzzle brake. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a lot of concussion coming back, but in my opinion, it's worth the trade-off. Now, I haven't shot this system at night, so I don't know how much flash and fire and all you're gonna get, but the video that comes out tomorrow, you're gonna see some flash during the daytime. So if you need this for any type of tactical application where you're trying to conceal or reduce the amount of flash, don't go with this. Because of YouTube's policies, I'm not allowed to show the disassembly process. But here's the barrel that I just pulled out of the gun. And this is the barrel that I replaced after I did my last filming. So there's nothing wrong with this barrel. I mean, it's good to go. You can look at the barrel extension on this, the feed ramps, you know, the locking system for the bolt. I mean, everything's good to go. Yeah, I was unsure about this. I think it's a nitride finish on the barrel. I was a bit unsure when I first received it, but I'm a believer in it. I have gotten some of these barrels very, very hot, as much as 300 rounds fired in short succession. That's how hot I got them. So with that, let's go ahead and pop the hood open and see what it looks like underneath. Stand by. The only tool that I needed to take apart this MCR was just a 5.56 cartridge. Taking or pushing out this rear pin was very, very tight, very tough. I do have an AccuWedge in the lower receiver, and I do recommend that. Since one of the videos that I've shot doing a 100 round belt dump, or I'm sorry, a 29 round belt dump, my bad, YouTube. So I have the MCR disassembled. Here's the receiver group. Here's the feed tray cover. There's the feed tray. There's the charging handle, and there's the bolt. or the bolt carrier group. So we'll start with the lower receiver first. The tool that I needed to disassemble this system was a 5.56 cartridge. Now pushing out this rear takedown pin was a bit tough. I do have an AccuWedge installed here in the lower, and I do recommend it. It does tighten up the upper and lower receivers and allows that bolt carrier to go backward and forward a lot more smoothly. We can see that there's a little bit of carbon fouling inside this lower. Nothing what I would consider excessive. Now I haven't shot this suppressed yet. The FRT is working very, very well. I'm very impressed with it. The FRT is working very well, so I have it on semi. Push the lock bar forward, press the trigger, and the hammer falls correctly. I put it on FRT, push the lock bar forward. If I try and do that left or with my right hand. But everything is very smooth. It is dirty, but everything is still working very smoothly. The selector switch, nothing wrong with it. There's the extended bolt stop, bolt release, because the MCR upper is wider than your traditional AR. Everything's perfect with it. And as you can see, I do have an H3 buffer in it. This buffer is from Fightlite. There's the buffer and the buffer spring. It comes out just like any other AR-15. There is some visible wear on the buffer. Can't really feel it. But you're cycling, or I'm cycling, a lot more ammunition through this system in such a short amount of time, much more so than I would a standard AR-15. When we look at the hammer and trigger spring, there's no movement. Now when you install these pins, it might be a little bit loose as far as like fitting them in. They may essentially just drop in, almost feel like it's too much slop in it. But once you snug the screws down and put a little bit of Loctite on it, it works perfectly. You don't need to put the Gorilla Grip on it, guys. Just make it nice and snug and the Loctite will keep it in place. But everything is working as it should. I have absolutely no complaints with this lower and this FRT in this system at this time. Moving on to the bolt carrier group, it looks very similar to your standard AR-15 bolt carrier. And there's your full auto cutout there. And on the AR-15, you've got your gas key, but here, this is where the piston strikes the bolt to cause the bolt to start moving backwards. And of course your cam pin here to cause your bolt to start moving, unlocking. And there's your firing pin, retaining pin. And then there's the roller that interfaces with the feed mechanism, with the feed claws. And to pull the bolt out of the upper, all you have to do is it's just a button. You just push that button in and then the bolt comes out, and then you twist the bolt to clear this impact point up and then just pull it out of the receiver. It's pretty simple. An interesting note about taking the firing pin, retaining pin out is I'm unable to get the tip of the bullet into the recessed area here to pull it out like you can on a AR or your traditional AR. I was able to use a 5/64 Allen key and fit it into the hole and then just push out the retaining key. There's absolutely no wear on the bolt carrier. You can see the shiny parts where the metal to metal contact surfaces are rubbing against each other, but that's just cosmetic. There's no deformation to any part of the metal. Well, I guess that part comes out as well. Of course, there is the owner's manual right here, wink wink, that I'm following. But there's your cam pin. Looks very similar to the AR-15. Looks a little bit longer, but I could be mistaken. And then the firing pin looks essentially the same, and it's really not all that dirty. There's your bolt. Bolt looks perfect. It is a little dirty, of course, but that's to be expected. Everything looks great. Here's your charging handle. Very, very gummy right there, but that's where a lot of the carbon's coming out, because the op rod is coming through there and importing the force onto the bolt carrier group, so there's going to be some carbon coming back through there. But as long as you keep it wet with some good ballistol, you'll be good to go. And sorry, I need to look up what this part's actually called, but doesn't look like anything's out of place. There's no spalling or anything like that, so looks great. And here's the feed tray. See where the rounds go into the feed tray, or onto the feed tray, however you like to say it. Everything looks great. There's no metal deformations, no crack, nothing. It's just cosmetic wear, but that's to be expected. And again, this is probably more or less accelerated wear, but this is designed for true full automatic fire. So if you have a registered machine gun lower, or if you work for an agency that issues out machine gun lowers, then this is perfectly adequate for such lower. And here's the feed tray cover with your claw mechanism that pulls the belt into the weapon. Yeah, everything's perfect. It's just as smooth as it can be, even though it's got a little bit of carbon, a little bit of fouling in it, but it works perfectly. It's great. Nothing wrong with it. And there's still that brass detent there for the rear sight pin. And to take the feed tray and feed tray cover off of this receiver, all you have to do is push this pin out and it comes straight out. And with the quick barrel change, there's your button to release the barrel when the bolt's pulled to the rear. See if I can get that on video. And there's your pin right there above my finger. That's the only pin that holds the barrel in place. To some degree, it's like the detent on the buffer tube that keeps the stock or the pistol brace on the buffer tube. It's very, very robust. When you put the barrel into the receiver, there's absolutely no wiggle room whatsoever. And then there's your operation rod. And to get that out, I probably actually do need to go get the owner's manual. Looks like, I'm not really sure, but I think one of these little pieces here comes out and then you can just slide the rod out. But I'll do that another. And for those with the sharp eye, you may wonder why there's electrical tape on my lower receiver or the receiver itself, and there's nothing wrong with the rail system. It's just to tighten up the bipod to this a little bit more. And it doesn't have anything to do with the pick rail here. It's just the way that this adjusts, and for some reason it doesn't like me, so trying to actually hold that out and push against it and try to get that nut out to where you can rotate it. I kind of fight with it all the time, so I got it close enough for government work, and then I was able to put a little piece of electrical tape there to go ahead and tighten it down the rest of the way. Real quick about the op rod. When the piston hits the op rod and imparts the force on it, you see the op rod back here. That part of the op rod is what imparts force on this right here and pushes the bolt back. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get my MCR cleaned up and reassembled and stored away for another day. I just wanted to go ahead and open the hood, let y'all see it in real time, or as close to real time as I'm seeing it, to see what's going on after the break-in period and after I've shot at least a couple thousand rounds through it. I'm very impressed with it. There's no signs of wear or anything. I do recommend this system for those that can get it. I do recommend the AccuWedge to tighten up the two, or the upper and the lower, if you will, and it really allows that bolt carrier to slide back and forth a lot more smoothly and gives that real good constant rate of fire. With that, I wish everybody a great day. Stay safe, carry where you can, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Take care. Something that I missed while I was talking about this upper receiver is if you look around the cam pin slot right here, right behind the cam pin slot where the bolt carrier comes backwards and the cam pin unlocks and also comes back here, it looks like I've got too much gas coming into the system. And just like my Mark 18 with the M4 2000 suppressor, when it's over gassed, there's a lot of, I guess the cam pin is a lot more violent coming back, and it's actually wearing a groove into this upper receiver right here. So it's telling me that there's too much gas and the bolt carrier is coming back too quickly, too violently. And also, looks like here, there's a good bit of wear where the brass is ejecting and hitting the upper receiver in the ejection port area. So with that, just keep an eye on your upper receiver if you have one of these. The barrels came on this second setting here, indicated by these two dots. So I would probably suggest turning the gas down some, and it'll slow down your RPM, or your rounds per minute, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Especially if you want to save the wear on your upper receiver. Look at the bolt carrier group again, or the bolt carrier around the cam pin slot. There's no damage. I mean, this is all steel. It's not going to get damaged. Even around the cam pin itself, there's no damage. Again, this is all steel, and it is wearing against the aluminum upper receiver. So we do want to keep an eye on that. So again, there's no damage to this. Everything's good to go. So just keep an eye on it and check your gas settings accordingly.